Come sit down.
Jim, if you look behind you, there's an update going on. I think
It's installing.
instead of skipping it, you're installing it, so you've got,
Well,
Hello.
you can't stop it now.
well, then people won't be able to see the TV, but people can still see it and hear us. Because they're-
Sit here. Good, Brad, you might sit here. So they can.
Okay, that's it, just.
And the recording is on, the microphones are on, so just so you know.
You doing?
You go that?
Yeah.
People online hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Carl Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
I
you.
can't hear you, maybe you're muted.
Hopefully you can hear me. I can hear you perfectly. Thank you, Sarah. And I just want to know that I have,
Charles Scott, you're talking, but I cannot hear you.
It keeps creeping back from the street, moving toward the back.
I can hear you just fine, so I think it is something on their end, maybe.
Dan Fingus, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, but you
I
can't
don't-
hear me.
it doesn't-
You're gonna put the generator.
Dan, can you hear me?
Street and the
Yes.
side of the building, yeah.
No, I can't hear you though, okay, so that's a problem, hang on.
Yeah, but is it that close? Is it moved that close?
Yeah, it's moved about 4
Were
feet.
you at, did you go swimming?
I mean, I put some stakes on the ground for Michael to see where the gravel should go for the pad for the generator and it's already moved closer to that. Since.
Yeah, I think the only thing I think it's moved, I think it's probably moved out because the truck's so long, so they're probably traffic instead of sitting in the middle of the road to unload the dumpster, they probably moved it out a little bit to let cars through.
Okay.
There was nothing there, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Ireland and see if we can have bollards put in, you know, those pipes that fill with cement, you know, like by the fire hydrants. And that way they can push it back as much as they want, but then they won't slide it into the place for the generator.
Right.
Well, we have a problem, 'cause I can't hear the people online.
Is it because the TV's still updated?
What?
Is it because the TV's still
It
updated?
could be that.
Yeah, the update's still not done.
Yeah.
The speaker on this, in the TV has been how we've been hearing people.
Oh, they're not baby. So folks online, I can't hear you right now, but the TV is doing an install. And when that's done, which looks like it'll be pretty soon, hopefully we'll be able to hear you.
Okay, can people online hear me?
So
Yes.
why don't we start,
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, we'll see if, we'll see what happens.
Okay, it's about 3 minutes after 6. My name is Jim Bolt. I'm the chair of the Plainfield Select Board. With me is Patty Gemelli and Carl Bissix. Both of them are board members. Right now, it's I want to. The purpose of this meeting is to have a normal select board meeting for the town. Have we any change to the agenda?
I have one.
Yes.
Something got to be done about the road at the bottom of Hurricane Road. It goes right past the Opera House. Someone's gonna get killed. The cars come around really quickly, you can't see. And people have to come right into the road. And cars can't see around and they're going faster all the time.
I'm not sure what we can do about it. It's not, it's Route 2 is a state highway. There's a stop sign at the bottom of the hill you're talking about, right?
I think the long term effects when they do that intersection,
Right.
they're talking about traffic lights, but that's not for another 4 or 5
Right,
years.
I mean, that's part of one of the reasons for it, but I'm not sure there's much that we can do about it, and the people who live up there, I assume know how dangerous it is.
So the update has gone through on.
Okay, so,
Alright,
Does it make sense to restart the?
I don't know,
It's still doing a thing.
yeah.
I just so you know, it just has been a topic that is.
Yeah.
Bucks.
it seems like it's getting worse. Ours are coming down so bad, but the enemy's pregnant, you can't say a thing. And he's rented apartments now. And it's just really dangerous. I'm sure you've talked about it.
It's still doing stuff.
Yeah. It'll get there eventually.
Yeah. So, do we have a corner? All right, so as far as, so we just discussed your issue, I think.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Any announcements? Anything that we should be announcements coming up? Can't think of anything off the top of my head. All right.
I can say that we have a concert on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a good announcement.
That's good.
Where's that and what is it?
It's at the Opera House, actually, for, it's a Grateful Dead tribute,
And what time is that?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
And I guess I should say that the new Opera House generator is supposed to be installed on the 1st of August. We're working, I was talking with the gas people today about how we're gonna trench up and get the propane fed to it, but it should be pretty painless.
So, did you resolve the issue again under the wall and all that?
I haven't resolved it, but I haven't given permission to dig under it,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to dig under
Good.
it.
Great. Okay, I guess we're up to road foreman's report.
Are you gonna do public comment? I was waiting.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Yes, public comment.
I had, in a search for something related to Goddard, I came across a trove of documents about the Goddard sale or the arrangements that led up to the sale from the Attorney General. And they were following up on a confidential records request that was made through the Attorney General, which they honored on the 17th of May. And I didn't know about this, but I was wondering if I should pass it on to the town's attorney and whether or not the town's attorney did advise you about.
Before we go on, the TV is saying no signal. Is it possible to, just because there are people who
Yeah.
I talked to who wanted to join?
I guess it has to be restarted.
Yeah. So folks on the internet, we're gonna restart the computer here, so you might not see us for a minute, but we'll be right back. And hopefully that'll give us the sound that we need. Although I should ask, Alice, Merrill, can you hear us?
If they
Or
can hear us,
Dan,
they can type
Or Dan,
in
if
the chat.
one of you could talk so we could tell whether we can hear you or not.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Oh,
I
Dan,
can
if you're
hear you,
talking,
but
we're not hearing you. So I'm gonna restart this computer here, so we'll be back in a minute.
Doesn't sound over the TV. Yeah. Not sure that the microphone though should be reaching the public because that's right. They can hear us. Yeah.
Well, this is fun.
Yes, yes. The miracle of modern technology.
I know. Oh, well. Well, nice to meet you. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good day.
Well, as long as I can stay out of the heat, I won't complain.
Yeah, it has been pretty warm. That's to say the least.
As a child, I loved it. As an older person, not so much.
I have spent my day trying to avoid the heat and the sun while being outside with my 4-year-old.
Oh, there you go. I took the afternoon off from work, went for a bike ride, which was like riding a bike in a sauna. And then I sat by a river with a beer, and it was lovely.
Way to follow it up with something good.
Exactly. That's my reward for exercising.
Can you hear us now?
I don't think they're back yet.
I see them. I see their picture. I'm once again looking at the meeting room.
Well, yeah, they're muted.
Oh. Yeah, you have to tap on. Oh, that's weird.
Or can they not hear us unless they're like listening to us?
Can you hear us now?
I
Yeah.
can hear.
We can hear you.
Can you
we
hear
can
me? I'm unmuted, I think.
Yes, we can hear you too.
Okay,
So
cool.
Can people in the select board office hear us?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
Oh, excellent.
All right.
Welcome back.
All right, so let's start the meeting over. This is the meeting. Plainfield Select Board. My name is Jim Waltz. I'm the chair. With me is Patty Gemelli, did I say that? And Carl Dithix. It's now 6:10. There were no changes to the agenda. So we will go on to we were working on announcements. Were there any others?
No public comment.
Well, public comment, any other?
So I'll just reread this, which is that on May 17th, the Attorney General's answered a document request with regard to Plainfield College's sale. And it was an extensive trove, it was about 270 pages about the history leading up to the sale of the campus to the proposed buyer. And I was wondering since last meeting, I was asking Plainfield to intervene. Did Michael Tarrant agree to intervene? And if so, does he want these documents? I can forward them to him.
We have not decided whether we want to intervene. And the select board itself would have to make that decision.
I
We
see.
haven't done that yet, as far as I'm aware. Right. And what I'd like to know first would be how much it would cost.
Sure.
Because I'm afraid it would be quite expensive and our attorney budget that we have put in place is not very large, so it depends on what the other two select board members would like to do.
Yeah, we don't wanna just, we don't wanna give the attorney just. Read through this 270 pages.
That's why I asked. I
Well, I
understood
could
that.
contact him and ask him about it and ask him what he
Yeah.
thinks it would cost to get us to intervene. I think the first question might be, do we want to intervene and why? Do we want to intervene and why? Do we want?
Us.
Yes.
Well,
There's
Michael's talking about giving it to the town attorney.
Yeah, now let me.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have to bet, we have to make a decision that the town wants to intervene in the case.
Right, let me kind of.
Okay.
That's a select board decision. I'm asking you two select board members.
No, I want to ask to step in, is that it's not on the agenda, so I don't think you can do that without public notice.
Right,
So I'm not asking you to make a decision about the whole thing.
okay.
I just thought you might know that he had already been hired, in which case this document would be useful. I'll wait on it
Yeah.
until you make your.
You can send it to us and then we can forward it to him when we.
Well, this is just 2 pages. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but the document that you wanted to send to him, you should send to us, not to him.
Fine.
And then we'll forward it to him if we decide to go forward.
Yeah, I was just asking for guidance here.
Right, all right, so at our next
Okay.
meeting, be prepared to discuss this issue, okay? And
Yeah, let's do that.
and make a decision at that time.
Okay.
Great, that's a good idea. All right, up to any other public comment?
Yes. If I may just ask, you basically answered much of my question, but I was curious. Not only had you heard from the Attorney General in response to your letter, but if you had had any contact or outreach from either Goddard College or the potential buyer, still not, formally named. So, if you have had any contact, that was what my question was. Thank you.
I haven't.
Point of clarification. This letter was not from Plainfield. This letter was from a private individual to the Attorney General.
No, but we sent a letter to the attorney.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And a while ago, no, we haven't gotten.
We also reached out to the named potential buyer and I have encouraged the school to have public meetings and they have not had public meetings and the potential buyer did not respond.
Yeah.
Okay, any other public comments about any other topic? For this one? Okay, I don't hear anybody. I guess we're up to the road foreman's report.
Yeah.
Michael, thing.
We had a big storm come through Saturday night and Saturday evening, so I did a lot of damage to the roads. We've been trying to fix some washouts on the roads. Tyler Road was one of them. East Hill took it pretty hard.
Yeah.
There's some spots on the upper road, as well as a lot of other smaller spots on almost every road that we have.
There was some, there must have been some on Millbrook as my way into today. I saw where you put down, somebody put something down.
On Middle Road?
On Millbrook, I thought.
Yeah, no, we
Yeah,
haven't.
no, okay, never mind.
Maybe somebody else had done it.
Or maybe it's from an earlier time, I haven't been down.
Yeah. I noticed that you would send me an email about the street sign on
Right,
Middle Road,
right,
and Flood Road,
right.
that's laying in the grass, so
Right.
we're gonna get to that in the
Okay,
next
great.
couple days.
Yeah,
Get that back.
I understand you have higher priorities, but
Yeah.
yeah, no problem.
After the rain came through, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't happen again Wednesday, they're talking for another 1 to 2 inches of rain, so.
Were there many trees down? I was one down in our house that you took care of.
Yeah, there was just 4 that were down,
Oh.
small limbs, they weren't blocking the road, just in
Okay.
and upward, they'd slapped somebody's mirror.
Good.
Thanks for all your work.
Yeah.
Wow.
The only other thing I guess would be the plowing at the building across from the opera out there.
Right, and I guess you got my email this afternoon, clarifying that, maybe you didn't.
No, I did not. I got one from Jim.
Oh, okay, so I should probably clarify what I was asking for, because you said I would bring it up in the road report. What I wanted to say was that I had asked the Opera House Board, the Plainfield Arts, to use the carriage house barn that is across the street. And the reason for that was threefold, actually. One is that we have a construction project in town hall to add a floor under the stage for storage of town hall stuff. And we will be getting our materials at a different time than when we're going to be building. And it will be possible for all of us to coordinate together. We could probably keep them temporarily out of the weather until our crew is assembled. The second point that I made was that there was a frequent possibility in the winter, especially if there's an emergency meeting call for the town, say, for instance, if there's a long electrical outage, that in that context, we would have to get a lot of people into that meeting, just like we did in March. And who's to say that at town meeting in March, there wouldn't be a snowstorm that could happen. So there was also the advantage to the town of having that lot, the lower lot of the Opera House plowed at the same time as the lot adjacent to it for the town. The third thing was that the actual having of a pet shelter really makes a difference when you want somebody to evacuate. There are people who have not evacuated because they can't take their pets. And we've gotten this grant to build a pet shelter, and the Opera House has offered to let us keep pets temporarily during a disaster in that Opera House carriage barn, but we can't get to it if it's not plowed. So we really need to have the select board act to decide whether or not to plow that. And if that were plowed, the select board would be offered back from the Opera House to use it for those particular town activities.
So
I know it came up about 4 years ago, before I was the foreman, Mike was, I know you were on the select board then, and he didn't think that we should be plowing private property, and I kind of feel the same way.
That's okay, so that belongs to the town.
Yeah, no, it's very, very clear. A lot is, and the Opera House has offered it to us, to the town, to use for town meetings. So it's not exactly quite the same thing as saying, well, that's somebody's private property. It's actually an organization that runs the Opera House. And it is an organization that has offered parking and other services to the town in exchange for plowing it. And so the question is, do you just want to do that?
And your recommendation still is not?
I think we should just hire a contractor, because if you see a town truck on somebody's private property, somebody else is gonna be, oh, well, you can use my driveway for town facilities if you keep plow around.
Yeah.
That kind of, you can't do it for one person and not do it for everybody else, in my eyes.
And then it would be part of your budget, the cost of,
It wouldn't.
no, we'd have to add money to the budget for that purpose.
Oh, well, except that I mean, I'm trying to get the use of this carriage house, and that's the bargain.
Right.
And I like to know how to do it. So it's sort of, it really diminishes the usefulness of the shelter if we don't have a pet facility. So it's really important to me to try and make this arrangement.
Is the carriage house empty? Is there?
It's not totally empty, but there's enough room for what we need to put in there. And
But do people live in it and own it?
it's not a family, it's the Opera House Board. The Opera House Board is run by Plainfield Arts,
Yeah.
and Plainfield, you could speak to this, Carl, probably.
No, you're doing fine.
Okay, yeah, the Opera House has taken, first of all, possession of the former building that was across the street, tore it down at their expense, and then turned it into a parking lot. So that parking lot across the bottom from Harvey Hill Road adds, I'd say, additionally 18 parking spaces, 15 to 18 spaces, which we can use during a town meeting. In other words, this is something that has always been uncertain, and it would be nice to have it resolved in a sort of a permanent way. And it's not plowing it for a private party, it's plowing it for town hall, and that's the distinction I want to make.
But when the Opera House organization has events there, they plow it for those events in the winter time, right? They hire someone to plow. That's right.
Well, let me just say practically that anytime it snows, there could be reason to have to use the town hall.
Right.
And because we have committee meetings and other things
Right.
there in the building. So Michael's got that on his list, if I'm not mistaken, of plowing it every time there's a significant snowstorm. So if it's plowed after every significant snowstorm, then it's ready to be used for an emergency town meeting, it's ready to be used for a opera house event, or it's ready to be used for a shelter. And
So who's been plowing it now? Have you been plowing it?
no,
I've just been plowing the upper one, which is a town parking lot, the
Oh,
other
yeah,
one, right?
Where's the you want, not that?
this is the lower, the adjacent lot, that's immediately, it's actually,
Oh, that.
it's got the same entrance back.
Yeah, but it's
The house
not-
that got tore down.
Oh, that's right.
Where the house was at.
And
And
that's
so
not normally plowed,
it's not normally
Oh,
plowed.
house.
and the reason you need to plow is in order to reach the building that you.
Well,
want
and
to
the reasons I gave, one of the good reasons is that we get to use the Opera House.
Yeah.
I mean, the Opera House carriage barn, I mean, I wanted to do a trade.
I see,
And this, but the second is that it opens up that space for parking at any town event.
right,
And it gives me access to the animals if there's an emergency during the winter. So those are the three things.
so,
You think, no,
I don't think town equipment should be on private property. I think if you guys wanna go forward with it, you should just get a contractor to plow that lot.
I tend to agree with Michael, I could also ask our attorney about that as well, about town plowing private property. What the liabilities might be for that.
The cost would be so much lower. I gotta say that if you have a private contractor making a trip to do that lot, it's a lot more expensive than the 15 to 20 minutes that Michael would be required to do that plowing. I mean, I'm appealing from the point of view of a department in the town. This is something that actually is kind of helpful to us in a very significant.
We would have to be kept plowed all winter, and there might be many years when we would never even use it for the purpose you're talking about.
Well, unless it was a public meeting.
Yeah, or an emergency, but you wanted it for an emergency.
Well, I wanted it for an emergency, but
Right.
with the hazard mitigation has public meetings where we invite the public to join us. And if it exceeds the lot, we have other space as well. It's about. Anyway, I would not treat this as a private piece of property as much as it is an extension of the Opera House, which is a town-owned building. That's my perspective.
Well, the property's actually owned by the organization.
It's owned by the organization.
And they manage the town hall opera house for us.
Correct. But if they have to pay for it, we won't have the use of the garage. In other words, this is something that I'm trying to say is a quid pro quo. It's a direct exchange of services for services. And if somebody questions it, you just say, well, we paid for that in this other way. We paid for it by, we paid for the use of a barn on somebody's private property in exchange for plowing that private property. It isn't really muddy, it's just different. It's a new way to do something.
Are there physical reasons why it couldn't be plowed with the equipment you have?
Oh, it can be plowed with the equipment we have, but I just don't think town equipment should be
Okay.
on private property, that's.
All right,
Just for the liability reasons, and if you do damage to the parking lot, then, you're gonna have to fix it, if you plow it, somebody knows down plow it, you get put sand down, somebody slips and falls.
Mhm.
It's just a liability issue to me.
So do you guys do you want me to check with the lawyer about what he thinks about the liability to us of doing this? Or do you already know what you'd like to do? I'm not in favor of doing this necessarily because of what Michael's concerned.
well, it seems to be important, Michael, and to have access, I think it is also true that in town for town purposes. So I think looking into it with an attorney and to see what liabilities the town would be realized if the town equipment was in there, we should find out.
Okay, okay, I'll check with the old town attorney on that one as well. So there's two things that we check with them. Okay, thank you. Yeah, anything else under public comment?
We were on my report.
On the road.
The only other thing I had was the new culvert policy for driveways and stuff.
Yeah.
I get forwarded to you guys. And I'll-
Yeah, we have it right here.
Yeah.
I had a question about that.
Yeah,
We're gonna recommend a certain size culvert.
Yeah.
For a homeowner, the homeowner will install it, pay to install it and buy it, correct?
correct, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, it takes some of the risk away from the town, but it also gives us some risk, because if if that culvert doesn't function the way we hope it would, and it takes out some of the road. Who's gonna fix that?
Or it takes out the driveway.
Or it takes out our driveway, is that the?
We're doing it, it's gonna be reliable on the homeowner or whoever has the access through the driveway.
Right,
I mean, obviously, if we're out dipping and the ditches are getting filled up, we're gonna dip right up to the culvert, but that's more or less for leaves and sticks that people keep. Raking into the ditch and it plugs up and comes down through and then the culvert plugs up and then it washes the road up.
okay, so the homeowner has some responsibility to keep it clear as much as they can,
With
but,
debris.
or at least not put things in it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, it does say if damages to a town highway is caused by improper culvert installation. Or by inadequate maintenance, it is the responsibility of the property owner to make necessary repairs at their, his or her expense.
May I just ask a question?
Sure.
What if the culvert does damage to someone else's property down below?
Think that that's covered by this.
Well, that's the road, but what about if it, washes out someone else's driveway down below?
There'll be that, I think that would be between the driveway owner and the people down the road, they've got it on. But.
I would add language that indemnifies the town in case the wrong choice of size was made. In other words.
Yeah,
that's just my concern, yeah.
We'll recommend 12 inches. Turns out it should be 16, but that's not gonna be on the town. The town recommended something.
Yeah.
You install something at your own, whatever. The town is not gonna be.
I'm just concerned that Michael's crew is gonna be recommending something and they just miss it, I mean, it's.
But yeah, and that happens, V-Trans has done that a number of times,
Right.
where they've said, oh, well, 12 inches is fine, and it turns out not to be, but that should not be. That should, the homeowner, if they wanna buy a bigger culvert, we're not guaranteeing anything.
Yeah, okay.
so should I ask all the way about this as well, Ron? About the liability issues and if we should put other language in here to cover that? Or are you recommending us against?
Well, I think just, I don't know if it would need an attorney necessarily, but just simply saying, the town makes a size recommendation without any guarantees whatsoever.
So do you have this on the?
I do.
Can you add that language that you think would work?
Well, I can write something up.
That'd be great, just add it in here and send us around.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
My only concern with the driveway culverts is that, if something fails, it comes right out of my budget, which is only $7,000, that's roughly 7 culverts.
Right.
So if 4 people's driveways washed out, there goes half my budget, so
Right.
it only allows me to change 3 that are going across the road.
But that's Brandon's talking about putting in language that would protect you from that happening.
Well, exactly, but I mean, that right now, as it is, it comes right directly out of my budget instead of from the homeowner. And that's how it's always been, and I've never seen a written up policy saying that the homeowner would pay the town to put it in. So that's why I came about writing this up.
Okay.
Well, I think it makes sense for the town to protect itself. We just wanna make sure the language is right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so in other words, your point to me is, the whole idea behind this is to protect us from the current situation, to improve the current situation. Because under the current situation, Brand's worried about is already a problem.
yeah, well, that right now, as a business, coming out of everybody
Right.
taxpayers' money, so it's
Right.
coming right out of my budget to replace crossover,
Right. Okay.
which is only $7,000, that doesn't even buy a article, but.
Okay. All right, great, so you'll circulate.
Well, yeah, I think that we could just add a little more language and then do it next meeting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And then when you send it around, send a copy to Mike.
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
Great, that'd be terrific, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on the road report?
No, I didn't, I noticed you were here, I know you have the comments about Tyler Road.
You wanna tell us, you wanna say what you had to say?
Sure.
And if you could identify yourself.
Yeah,
with a note.
Sure. Darlene Covey, I'm at 185 Fowler Road. And we've had, this is an ongoing problem, it's been since they changed the culvert way back, and Brand knows, we've had issues, but what happened is when they put this, ditch in,
The riprap?
they stopped it way up above our property. And it's filled up with stuff, and this is where the road, well, yeah, he's had to fix the road how many times,
Everything.
it's, yeah, it's costing the town a fortune. And
Where
what's,
they get familiar with this problem.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
front of her house, the whole road, that towards her house, so it essentially has to come 30 feet instead of going 15 feet either way.
So is there a solution to it or?
well, when Graham was on, he had the state guy come, do you remember that?
Yes, sure.
And he said the crown needed to come out and the road needed to be slanted towards the ditch, which never got done. But that's what's taking the road out, but what's happening is because there's no, excuse me, because there's no ditch down through our property. This is what we get on our lawn, well, at the edge of ours, it just comes down through and it's getting deeper and deeper. And then when the rain gets done, this is what it leaves on the bottom of. All the way down through, just road. I mean, it's
Is
just
that
road.
sand and gravel?
Yeah, it's from the road, there's no ditch to go down, they stopped the ditch for some reason. And then what happened, see, there's no ditch here where the culvert is, so I don't know if you can see, but what it's doing, it's eating away in my bank. And what I wanna do, because you know, it's 70 in October, after we eat this, and you have to be part goat to do it. So I wanna put something on it to, you know, that, like a cover, so that I don't have to weed eat it, but I can't do it if the bait's not, you know, gonna go away. And this is, that maybe you can see a little better where the bank is, it's eating right into the bank. And now that it's started and it's opening up, you know, it's not gonna take much rain and it's just gonna, if we actually had a real rain, except just a storm. Yeah, and that's where it's coming down the road instead of the ditches. And that's what it comes down the road and into the driveway, that's what it does to the driveway of this storm just on Saturday. And we just put $1,800 worth of state mat in again in the fall because of this problem. And that's what it does, it comes right down the road, through the driveway, and in the winter,
How does it get, sorry,
it comes right down like the side in the middle of the road.
yeah,
And because the road's higher than the driveway, it comes right down through our driveway.
and this is at the next to Fowler Road, is it?
That's our driveway,
Okay, this is Fowler Road on here,
yeah,
right? Okay,
yeah, that's our driveway, and
okay,
in the winter, if we have the snowbanks up really flat. And we happen to have a rain, it comes down into the garage and into the cellar. And we had like a half of water in the cellar in the winter. And this is what it does on the opposite side of the road, by the mailbox, that's no big deal, but it just shows you that there's some problem with where the water's going in this on the road. And this is our bottom driveway because they built the road up so high, we can't use the driveway anymore. Because the road is like up here and the driveway's here. And I mean, you know, my parents lived in 1948 and we've always used that driveway, but now we can't get out of it. And yeah, the road is so high and they said, and it seems to be, I don't know, they think it's because of water, but down here, below here, there's a culvert across the road right in front of this driveway. Right where the driveway
here
is,
somewhere?
yeah, so it goes through here, and there's no, actually, this is the picture down the road. There's no water down the road, so this, you know, this shouldn't have to be that high for water, because there's no water down there. Only it starts in about the middle of the hill, but there's nothing that comes down through there. And then another picture down the road, you know, there's no, with this last storm, there was no water damage down below that driveway.
Is there a culvert route across that driveway,
There's a culvert,
right here?
No, across the
It's
road,
right-
well,
It's a road, I'm familiar with that,
it's right in the driveways, Steve.
but it's not this lower driveway that you were just showing.
Yes, this culvert is right, okay, you go down the driveway, where the driveway meets the road. There's a culvert in the road that goes across the road. So
Right.
the water comes down and goes there, it doesn't go down the
It
road.
doesn't affect your property, once it's over the road,
Yeah,
so there's no culvert here, at the bottom of this old driveway.
yes, this one, little one,
No, it doesn't go across.
it goes across the road.
It
Yeah,
goes across the road.
it goes across the road. not across the driveway.
Oh,
Across
that's
the
what I
road,
was trying
yeah,
to.
oh, yeah, no,
Yeah, okay.
across the road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The only reason why the road has gotten so much higher in front of that driveway is just because of mud season over the years and having to put gravel for cars to be able to get through it. Which happens on.
well, I've lived there my whole life and I. Hasn't been any mud there since I was in grade school, I don't think, yeah, no, I mean. Well, that's what my problem is, so.
I'm not sure what the solution is here. What, have you two worked out any kind of solution or?
This is the first I've heard of it.
So can you
Oh,
guys,
okay.
can talk about it and make a solution maybe?
Well, no, I think it's not his responsibility to see that stone ditch goes all the way down like it should have. I don't know why they stopped it.
I know the stone right where your lawn is very, very deep, and I know Tom never liked it that deep, so that's why when we dug it out, we left some sill on top of it. There is stone way underneath it,
Well,
but I
there
know
needs
it's
to.
very, very deep.
But there needs to be a ditch right down through there like there is up at the top, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, it's just filled up. We did it about 3 years ago, and we put that stone in up above from your lawn all the way up through.
I remember when I went in and there was a concrete catch. If you will,
Well,
right?
that's at the culvert, that's at the culvert.
That connects the
that-
culvert to
that-
across the road.
Yeah, that's where the bank. There's nothing there, so the water's going in and started under the bank. That's right where the culvert is.
Well, I think, you know, in talking to your late husband about this and all that, I think that the origin of the problem was that, and this gets to sizing of culverts and everything, the cement culvert that crosses the road was not well placed and also is too small. So that's sort of one of the origins of this problem. I can't remember what Mike's reason was for not wanting to try sloping the water the other way. I don't know. Do you think that
It does all slope towards the inlet of that culvert.
No. What she's saying, she wants it to slope.
Towards the field.
Yeah, Tom was
No.
wanting it to slope. I thought he wanted it to slope away from the house.
No. When you had the state guy come up, remember he said it should slope towards the ditch side.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
So, is that a potential solution?
It still is bad, but it's very, very difficult on dirt roads. I mean, it literally only takes that much once water starts going through, it's walk right down the middle of the road. It's very, very difficult without GPS on grader.
Well, yeah, but the road has continued to go up and up and up and up and up and up in the center is a problem too.
Well, do you wanna try something new to try to alleviate this? Is there anything you suggest?
I mean, I can try, but then when you have to grade the road 4 times a year and you have to deal with that, and it takes quite a bit of time out of it.
Do we know how big the culvert is there?
I do not know what the size is, I can measure that.
Because you might compare that to what you would recommend today. Yeah, based on what you've
It's
seen.
24-inch.
The 24?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can measure it from the front too.
There's a lot of water there. Most of the driveway culverts we always recommend is 18.
Yeah.
Unless there's a substantial amount of water.
Yeah, and 24 is bigger than 18.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that was all put in, it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So you'll take a look and see if there's something you can do with that.
Yeah, I can try, but I really have the feeling it's not gonna work.
Okay.
I'm interested, when you mentioned the right near the culvert, it's silt,
Yeah,
because it's built up over the stones that were placed there originally.
yeah, because the depth was very, very deep before, and I know Tom didn't like it, so that's why we dug it out a lot more shallow so that they could still mow it. And then when we got up above the lawn and we started putting stone in. I mean, if you want stone all the way in there, we can dig it back out, we can put stone back in there and make it less deep.
Well, no, as far as I'm concerned, the stone up above the ditch should go right down through the culvert.
Well, it does, but it's very, very deep is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but what's happening is the ditch is low where the stone is, and it comes up to where the grass is. And it's making a furrow, whatever, and there's grass on both sides, and I mean, we spend a lot of time taking care of our lawns. And it's impossible to take care of. It's you know, it's a mess. It's and where the culvert is, it's going down and down and down and down and down. It's getting lower and lower and lower.
What's getting lower?
The ground, there's like some big, huge rocks in there, but it's eating away and it's dropping. It's going to
It's a road.
yeah, the side of the road is just, is going down, and that's what's causing the water to come down and get under the bank. Where on my lawn, and
Okay,
it started now and it's probably this far, but if we have one good heavy rain. The whole
so
bank.
now I'm
will be
confused,
in the brook.
because you're saying it's going down, but you're saying it's building up with silt.
Up
Is-
above it,
Up
that's
above.
talking right where the.
Oh, up
Up above, up
Okay,
above,
all right, thank you.
but at the culvert it's going down, because that's why it's going under the bank,
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it started out just a little, and even after this, just the rainstorm on Saturday. It's gone like farther and wider.
Yeah,
And
it's
my
not
water,
raining.
our water pipe is in that bank a little farther back, so I don't want the whole bank to go, you know.
Well, part of it is, I have to say, I think the sloping road is doubling the amount of water that would normally come off one side, right?
Yes.
Is that right? So that's one of the problems, and you have a hill behind you that's feeding that, so there's a lot of water through there.
Oh,
I
I realize,
certainly appreciate.
but we never, you know, the problem started when they put the, you know, when they put the culvert in
that.
initially.
Okay,
No, that was before my time, that was.
Oh, yeah, no, it's nothing to do with it.
yeah,
No,
I mean-
I'm not blaming you for anything, I'm
I'll look at it tomorrow,
I'm
and
just-
I'll see what we can,
I'm
post, and
just,
I'll meet with you before we do the work. I'll
realizing
do, and we'll try
the
to figure it out.
problem that's gotta be taken care of, because if it isn't, it's gonna cost more money in the long run.
Yeah,
appreciate that, but that's really the right solution, is to have a look at it. and see
I'll
what's
come
going
up and take a look at it tomorrow, and I'll try and meet with you the next week or so, and
Yeah.
we'll go over a game plan, and I'll try and make it so that you're more happy about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
You good? Is that fair enough?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
think that's
I
very
just need it taken care of, you know.
Very reasonable
Yeah.
approach.
Sounds good.
Are we done with this item then?
Yeah,
And then the driveway culvert policy, we're not doing that this week, because you're gonna.
we'll do it when we get next week,
Right.
the change, minor change,
Okay,
but.
Yeah.
all right. Anything else for the road?
No, that's all I had, unless you guys have something for me.
No, I'm set.
I'm all set.
As always, good work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And thanks for doing Fowler Road and East Hill today.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go.
Councilor report?
Yeah, I'd like to report on a couple of positive things that have happened.
Good.
We have today was the last day to submit candidacy petitions for the select board. And I'm happy to report that we have two potential two candidates who have put their names in.
And that's
For
how many
the,
openings we have, right?
yeah, and that's for the two positions, one for 1 year, one for 2 year. And the 1 year from Francis Rose Sabando, I hope I pronounced that correctly, I see that he's on, I hope I did, is running for that position. And for the 2 year position is Daniel Fingus. And very, very happy that people have stepped forward to face the challenges. I'd also like to report Penny is making progress, and we should hopefully wrap up the the audit of or the whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's a formal audit, but the reconciliation in the next probably week or so. I think that I would also recommend, depending on the results and so forth, that Penny stay on as a consultant in lieu of, we don't have a formal auditor. And I don't want to lose all the, once things are reconciled, I don't want us to fall into bad habits of not being reconciled again. So I think it would be wise and prudent to retainer services, once a month come in and make sure things are balanced. I think that that's, a prudent step, but we can go over that and look at costs and so forth. I also would be happy to report that the committee that is exploring the hiring of a treasurer and town clerk had a very intensive first meeting, which I attended, and it's it's a group that really is diving deep and is going to make recommendations that are both prudent in terms of spending money, but also really flush out what exactly the roles are and sort of help with procedural issues and roles going forward. So that's that's sort of the good things that are happening. I have to report that the tax rate will be set, the municipal tax rate will be set in the next couple of weeks. And there are challenges. And I still do not have a color from FEMA regarding the reimbursements. So in order to avoid a tax rate that's really unsustainable, we have some choices to make. I think that probably it would be, in a sense, borrowing from ourselves and using reserve funds in case the FEMA money doesn't come through. This is a standard practice in many municipalities facing financial challenges. The other thing, I would be remiss if I did not mention the idea of we have $171,000, which is not spent of ARPA money, committed to the Brook Road bridge project in the village. We could, if the select board felt, and I think this is something we all have to think about and consider, and I as a fiduciary, I would be remiss if I didn't open up this possibility. We could not do that project and not face a penalty. In other words, we haven't spent any money on it, we haven't gone forward on it. Obviously, this is something that I've worked for years on, along with a number of other people, and it would be a tremendous blow. And also in terms of the weather patterns and so forth, this is obviously something that we're essentially getting $1.5 million bridge for $171,000. But I do want that possibility to be on people's radar, and I suggest the board, talk to other people who've been involved in this, Michael Billingsley, Alice Merrill, and just get their perspective. But once again,
What you're saying is, in order to go forward with the Brook Road Bridge project and get the $1.5 million, we have to be willing to spend $175,000.
171, yeah.
171,000. You're saying we might need to use that money for something else and put it up on the bridge.
Yeah,
Okay.
That would be, in other words, we are going to, in a sense, pay a price in some way for having cash flow issues and challenges. So I'm trying to figure out what is it that we can do to avoid additional expense. So we can try and borrow the money, which would be expensive, and especially the fact that our balance sheet isn't in good shape makes that prospect more expensive. We can, in a sense, borrow from ourselves, but that, in borrowing from ourselves, it puts off other projects. If we borrow from the paving fund, if we borrow from equipment fund, whatever it is, that money is not going to be spent on those items. So, but to give you an idea of the impact that a $200,000 would have, well, that's the difference between a 19-cent municipal tax increase and a 5-cent municipal tax increase.
Okay.
So I mean that's sort of what we're.
What is, it sounds like we need some kind of decision of whether we put off the bridge project and use those funds for tax relief.
Please don't make that decision tonight.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
They're not.
I want to understand what he's.
What I'm saying is that what you need to consider is that we have right now, in terms of looking at the budget, looking for funds to sort of cover things, and usually you can, in a normal time, if the town hadn't spent $320,000 on last year's flood, out of pocket, which we haven't been reimbursed on. We should get $30,000 in the next couple of weeks, but the bulk of the money, I still am facing an opaque bureaucracy to try to find out what's going on. You know, and they're telling me the funds are obligated, but they won't give me a time, they won't give me an amount. So,
Point of information,
sure,
if I find out, or you find out, or someone finds out that FEMA is committing this money and does give a date, and does give an amount,
right,
that puts all these questions aside, is that correct?
correct,
So it really, we're talking about $190,000-ish that need to be found sometime in the next 2 weeks. Or by the next select board meeting, we have to face this decision about whether or not
right.
to raise some fund. And I would certainly want to participate in that discussion myself, because I actually have some feelings about the money pot at FEMA level. And whether it's going to dry up and we'll never get that bridge. So
That's a real possibility. In talking to the different people, the real possibility I got was that, well, you know, if you withdraw from this at this point, you're never going to get that bridge funded.
I think
Period.
that's true. I think so.
So I'm just saying, you know, I also want to say that we have, you know, some real challenges going forward, because we also have some unfunded expenses in the budget going forward. Next year, due to the reappraisal, I think people's taxes are going to generally go up. So those are some headwinds in terms of making decisions. We also have a $400,000 obligation to the intersection project, which has not been funded at all, and that's in 3 years. So, you know, these are the challenges. I'm giving you choices, and I'm trying to, you know, figure out what would be prudent, because I don't want to recommend, you know, a tax increase that is super exorbitant.
Can I
Sure.
ask a clarification about FEMA? Are you saying that, like, you apply for FEMA, everything's, is it just slow and coming in? Is it possible that you're not gonna get it at all?
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
possible
I think
you're not
we
gonna get it all?
could, I think we.
No, I have to, I don't think it's, if they said they obligated the funds, it does not mean they're not gonna come in.
Well, but wait, but it doesn't mean. I have not had any clear statement from FEMA regarding how much money would come in. Now, they could, in one of those committee meetings, say, yeah, you're okay, here's $5,000.
Yes.
Well,
That's a possibility.
let me ask another question then. Michael Bingham and Robin worked together to kind of come up with a total for all of the different aspects of the road work, so we could seek reimbursement.
Right,
And the part that was on our regular roads was the 35,000 or so. And then the rest of the money was mostly spent on Brook Road, which is a special state category road, which requires a different kind of avenue for reimbursement. But they promised that they will reimburse or what has been, they promised they will obligate funds to reimburse us. You must know the figure that has been asked for. Do you know that?
oh, I don't.
You don't know the figure?
No, because that's the problem, is that the process is opaque. Now, I
I
can
mean,
tell
you're
you,
in town, with Robin and Michael working together.
right,
And you helping document with
Right.
photographs and such. There was a request put forward to refund a certain amount of money.
to refund, but it wasn't a specific amount that I am aware of, because I mean, I've gone through the, you know, all this documentation.
Yeah.
I've heard people say it's close to $200,000,
Yeah.
not in an email,
Yeah.
not on record. And I want you to also note that the people that I talk to change jobs and disappear
Mhm.
after I spend a month talking to them. It's a new person. And there also have been
Yeah.
cases of asking.
Yeah.
So in other words,
But
whether or not I assume that the figure you're talking about is probably $250,000.
Well, that's maybe, I mean, I thought that that was less 35,000, but maybe I'm wrong. But the part that I'm interested in, because there was a form that had to be submitted, and it was done with the help of Paul Charon. And I know that it was done with the help of, with the involvement of Robin and probably with Michael, that somewhere along the line, there's an email to or from Paul Charon where this figure was actually named.
Right, but even if I found an email, I mean, I can look, but I think you really, you have to understand the way these things are divided up. It's not as simple as you're saying.
Well, I'm not
In
saying
terms of, because you're talking about subdividing the project into all these other projects and each one has a designated number. It's incredibly confusing. Now, the
No,
bottom line is, even if we request, even if we requested 200, let's say it was 200. It doesn't matter because they could in a meeting say, you know what? You didn't supply the information on the depth of the ditch and you don't have a photograph and we don't have a GPS coordinate, therefore, we're not considering those expenses.
Well, I keep wanting to throw this point out, Brandon, and I'm not, I don't want to get in a heated argument, but we can talk about this comment. Is that Paul Sharon was a FEMA official helping Robin, and he was making sure that all the forms met specification. He was actually proactively working on behalf of the town to make sure that this request went through. And the part that was most complicated, I'm not saying all of the towns provided help, but Brook Road was specifically segregated. I know that.
Okay.
And because there's a different funding
Leonard
avenue.
Vile.
So with that.
How do you raise your hand on Zoom?
Who's talking?
Who would like to speak?
Who's talking? Okay.
That was Charlie Cogbill, and I'll tell you, I can't get the gizmo to work for raising hands either, so.
Okay, if you want to, you can raise your own hand or you can just ask to speak. Did Charlie want to say something?
Not really, although I would like to point out that it is the select board on the vote of the town of what our tax rate is.
Yeah,
And that tax rate is set for FY25. We can't change it.
right. I would be presenting, I don't presume, I might have misspoken, I don't presume to set the rate. I presume to give the select board ideas of what they can set the rate to.
Exactly, and this is 9 months in advance, so that's advance notice.
Charlie, I think you're saying that we've already set the tax rate for the upcoming year, and so to the extent we're talking about changing it, it'll be in 9 months.
You cannot change the FY25 tax rate. At town meeting, we pass the amount to be raised by taxes, period, end of statement. If additional funds are needed, they'll either have to be generated outside of taxes and possibly brought up in the FY26 budget.
Right, okay, thanks.
But we,
Or we could have a special town meeting if we,
Right.
it was an emergency.
I'm sorry, you can't change it in a town meeting.
Okay.
We voted it for FY25. It is a done fact.
Okay,
If I could just say, just reiterate, Charlie's saying the budget stands as it is. So Bram's argument about having to increase the tax rate by 19 cents, it's just what
Right.
it.
What I'm talking about is not changing tax rates, changing the amount raised. What I'm talking about specifically is the mechanics by which we do that. And it's common practice for towns to look at the amount needed to be raised and offset it with cash on hand and other things. We don't have cash on hand, we don't have anything, and we're expecting something from FEMA. And I'm getting a stone wall in terms of what that would be. So what I'm concerned about is setting the right rate. That will be the select board decision, of course, but I want to give them as much information as possible.
okay.
I think you need to find some help who to talk to at FEMA, and I know you've tried relentlessly.
Right,
And
and I talked to the people, you sent me some names today, I've already talked to those people.
Okay, and when I talked to Keith at Regional Planning today, he said that most towns are in the same situation of not knowing when that money will be released from FEMA. So,
Yep.
Yeah. No one has addressed just borrowing from the reserve fund.
it's a common practice that's not, I mean, you know, it's not something that is, you know, it's something that towns do, you know, as a matter of course, rather than going through the expense of borrowing money from banks.
Seems like.
We'd be essentially, you know, taking money from, you know, paving and spending it on the thing, and then when tax receipts come in or whatever, we put it back in that fund.
Is the select board comfortable with something like that? Is the select board comfortable with that?
Well, if Bram is proposing that, we'll have to talk about it. He hasn't made a proposal. I don't know.
I'm not making a formal proposal right now. I'm giving everybody,
A heads up.
we have a full-blown financial crisis on our hands, and I want people to wake up and smell the coffee. And we're gonna have to make some tough choices. And that could mean next year, changing spending priorities. You know, that's my feeling, and increasing, you know, other things, you know, in terms of spending money on, we have woefully underfunded the infrastructure that runs this town in terms of hardware, personnel, and everything else. We need to step up our game, period.
Can I ask also that in the next 2 weeks, I mean, all of us are trying in different ways. Alice is trying her way, I'm trying my way to get out of Athena at least a dollar amount. I don't know we can get them to commit because they're not telling any town according to Alice, and that's probably no surprise. But I'm gonna try very hard to find out the actual amount that's committed. So if they say it is committed, in other words, this is money that's committed to Plainfield, then we can hand that back to Bram, and it takes a lot of the pressure off, because he knows it's really going to
Yeah, if you find out, great, but my guess is the reason they haven't made any announcements is because they haven't decided.
Well, that may be the reason. The other reason is because it's in this segregated category, which is different than the bulk of our roads are in one category and Brook Road is in a different one. And I think that creates a kind of an ambiguous situation.
No, but Alice said a lot of the towns haven't heard yet either. It's not just us.
But I'm trying to find a paper trail. That's what I'm talking about. It's a paper trail that documents what was actually asked for and was sent to them.
Yeah.
And then find out if that in fact represents the legitimate and well-documented thing, then we can probably at least be better assured that we're going to get that money back.
Okay.
Didn't you say that there was someone, you were working with someone?
There was somebody I was working with in the federal government who might be able to open up that information.
Okay, great.
Someone who was in communication with Robin.
Okay.
I haven't had any luck so far, but this is summer.
Good. Appreciate your effort. That's great. Graham, is there anything else in your?
I think that covers it.
Okay.
I just
Yes.
want to thank Bram for all the hard work he's doing for us.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. I know it's been tough.
I've been sort of in close hand, and I can say, because I'm on this committee also to help Bram get the help he needs. Is that it's crazy making. I agree with him 100%. It's the kind of stuff that would drive you right up the wall, because it's both unpredictable and it's really dense and it's difficult.
What's the next step for the board to make decisions on? If you could find out from FEMA what's coming, that would be a great help.
I'll try and do that before your next meeting. We'll try and get it. I've been trying, but I'm.
I know.
I'll try very hard.
All right, CV fiber update. Is Jeremy Matt on the call?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Excellent. So need to scoot out pretty quick to cook dinner, so I will try to make this as brief as possible, but when I'm done, let me know if you have any questions. So a little bit of kind of good news, bad news. The good news is that we have around 330 paying customers. We have a number of people in the queue waiting to be installed. This is fantastic. People are really, really happy with our service. Our feedback is pretty much universally positive. On the not so good side, construction right now to build out new areas is on hold pending funding availability. The bottom line is that we are not sure when the federal BEAD funding is going to be available. Perhaps late 2025, which is not ideal at all. We did pursue private funding, getting a loan The best rate that we could get was somewhere around 10%, which is just not feasible. We can't, the debt service on that would sink the organization. So we're not going that route. We are, however, to try to solve this, we are pursuing a merger with NEK Broadband. That would, excuse me, that would do a few things. The first is that it would make our BEAD application as a combined organization more competitive, and we would be more likely to get more money from the BEAD funding pot. It also would reduce the combined overhead of the two organizations, and that would get us to the bond market faster, which means the ability to take on debt that we can actually afford. We're also working with NEK Broadband. They have access to some funding that we don't, which is one of the reasons why I believe a merger is most likely going to be a good idea. And we're working on that combined funding with NEK Broadband, while we're also pursuing merging with them. We are the state of, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit. The state of the merger is we are doing due diligence, both on the NEK side and the CV Fiber side, to see if this is actually good for both organizations. Indications so far are that it is. We have a vote tomorrow to proceed with continuing that process, and I believe the final vote on that merger would be at our August governing board meeting. That's my report. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yes, could you tell me I didn't quite hear or catch the name of the merger partners, CV Fiber and who?
NEK Broadband. They are the neighboring CUD
Okay.
that covers the entire the entire kingdom.
Okay, thanks.
Jeremy, I noticed that there was initially going to be some work up at the park and ride that I think that you guys were going to put in some cables or something like that. Is that work sort of delayed due to the funding issues?
Yeah, we got to a point where if we wanted to continue doing those sort of make ready efforts where we're doing prep work, we would be running into a situation where we'd be eating up money that we might need to maintain operations. We've looked at the funding that we have on hand, and we can't spend more on construction and still maintain enough to pay our operating expenses until BEAD hits.
Great, anything else for this? Thanks, Jeremy, appreciate your update.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to hop off. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for all your hard work on this stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're up to appointments. Unless there's anything you want to discuss about that, we could take a motion to approve all of them.
Yeah, I've read through the list and I have no discussion. How about you?
I'm fine with all of them. Unless somebody had a question or.
No, I just wondered what happened to that person that was applying for the job that Karen was doing. I thought she looked really good, she sent in a letter and Karen story that position.
Oh, Karen, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that Karen is deciding to stay on, I thought.
Oh, maybe that's right.
She has been kind of responding to issues. And
Yeah, I think that Karen is staying on. That's
Okay,
right.
all right.
I think that's.
Okay. So,
That makes
do
sense.
you want to make a motion until?
I'll make a motion. Should I read all the names?
Yeah.
I would make a motion that the following people are appointed to their respective committees and boards. Paula Emery to a 1 year on the Plainfield representative for CBRPC. Julie Hackworth, a 3-year term, Conservation Commission. Rose Hall to 4-year term on the Conservation Commission. Charles Cogbill to 1-year term on Emergency Fuel Assistance Committee. Maggie Baird to 1-year term on Hazard Mitigation Committee. Jennifer Guarino, thank you, to one-year term on the Hazard Mitigation Committee. David Hill, to one-year term on the Hazard Mitigation Committee. Will Cogan, to one-year term on Plainfield Planning Commission. Jesse Cooper, to one-year term on Plainfield's Planning Commission. Karen Story, to one-year term on Plainfield's Planning Commission. Ben Youngbear, to one-year term on Recreation and Public Arts Committee. Me, Carl Bissix, to one-year term on Revolving Loan Fund Committee. Erica Del Costa, to one-year term on Revolving Loan Fund Committee. Judy Cyprian, to one-year term on Social Concerns Committee.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that was unanimous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks to all who are
Yeah.
Stepping for volunteering. Approval of warrants, accounts payable.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you, Michael.
Thanks for everything, Michael.
See
Um,
I make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the warrants and accounts payable for June 30th, 2024. And for payroll for July 3rd, 2024.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, great. The next select board meeting is going to be on July 22nd, Monday, right? I think that's the right date. And will August be available? I hope.
I think so.
Yeah, I already got it in.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Yeah,
July 22nd, 6 p.m. I guess here,
where else would it be?
yeah, and hopefully it'll be full.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Well, I'm gonna try to get the air conditioning going.
So
So,
that'd be great.
Or even a fan, I mean, a fan would.
yeah, no, we actually have an air conditioner, so I want to try to.
That'd be great, yeah.
Okay, that would be great,
All right,
it's
so
pretty
then-
hot.
And then I guess we're off. Anything else we need to talk about tonight?
Anybody else want to see down there?
Yeah.
No.
No, that's not a raised hand. That's just the,
Actually, Charlie seems to have his hand raised.
no, that's not a raised hand. Charlie, you didn't want to say anything, did you?
No.
I can't raise my hand and such it isn't raised.
Yes. Thank you. All right, are we ready for a motion to adjourn?
I motion we.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Okay.
I can take this down here.
So everything's outside, right? It's all, yeah, I think we want.
Oh, you can run that down?
I can run this down.
Thank you.
Uh,
I don't mean to be so strident.